If you are a teenager and you want an aesthetic body, you need to stop eating like a little kid. Most teenagers eat complete garbage foods and they wonder why they still look skinny. And I remember when I was a teenager, I used to eat a lot of garbage foods. I used to eat a lot of shit foods and I have this tendency to always skip the meals like whatever my mom cooks for me. I always skip the meals and I would rather buy some snacks or burgers from outside, and I was not eating healthy foods. I was eating total like processed food like shit foods that was not healthy for my body. And I used to binge it a lot whilst playing video games. I was like playing video games a lot at that time, so I used to binge eat a lot of shit foods like processed food whilst playing video games because I was in a hurry to play video games and I was not in a mood to like chew all the foods, and I was used to like eat the soft processed food. So that's why it is very easy to chew processed food and to like eat that completely in just like in just a few minutes, instead of like going on like eating complex carbohydrates or some oats or something and chewing it for like 20 to 30 minutes, because that shit takes a lot of time. And that was like frustrated for me when I was a teenager because I was very focused in my video games and I was not focusing on the healthy food and the healthy diet and eating healthy. And I remember at that time I used to look very weak and skinny and nobody was respecting me. Nobody was like giving me attention or anything. I was bullied by my friends in my high school and everything because I was skinny and weak little kid. So everybody was like making fun of me and everything, and I was not even like a usual kid, like usual weak kid. I was like so skinny. I have like thin skinny neck and I have a thin pencil bony arms and everything. That's why like everybody in my classroom like used to beat me in the arm wrestling and everything. And after a year or so I was very frustrated because I was not respected by anyone and everybody was making fun of me because I was like playing video games, and I was becoming a sad anxious kid like who sit on the last bench every time he go to the school and everything. So that's why I become so anxious and introvert kind of kid who doesn't talk to anyone and who has no friends because he is like weak skinny brown kid in his classroom. And I remember I was the only brown kid in my classroom, so that's why I feel very different because everybody in my classroom was like a white Asian kind of kid, like white Indian. So that's why I used to look very different from them, and I was brown kid and I was like bony and I was skinny. So that's why I really felt very anxious and nervous. But when I got to the age of 16, I decided to change myself. I decided to take actions and change my body, and I started experimented so many things in my diet, and also I started working out. I joined the gym and I became very consistent in the gym for like 1 or 2 months, and I become very consistent in the workouts and everything. And I experimented so many diets like this diet, carbohydrates diet, or like protein diet and everything. And at that time I had no idea what I was doing, but I was like taking actions and I was failing a lot of times. And I remember one time like a guy in the gym, like a big guy in the gym gave me some advice that you should eat a lot of carbohydrates and a lot of like sugar stuff, like simple carbohydrates, which is like a sugary stuffs, like which is like a sweet dish kind of things. You have to eat a lot of like sweets and like sugary things. And I started doing that for a month or so, but I didn't have any idea that what it was doing with my body. And I kept doing that, and after a month I become skinny fat. Like I started getting some fat, like weird fat on my belly. And also I was skinny and I didn't have any muscles. So I became a skinny fat kind of kid, like who has like skinny bony arms and like a little bit fat on my stomach. That's it. And for the first time in my life, I got fat on my belly because I was eating a lot of sugar syrups. And there was like a fancy like famous dish in my city which is like jalebi, like Indian sweet dish, which has a lot of sugar syrups inside of it, and they kind of like fry it in some oil or something. But at that time I didn't have any idea like what I was doing with my body, or it is healthy or not for my body or everything. So I kept doing that, and I realized that was the worst mistake of my life because I randomly got some advice from a big guy in the gym, but I didn't realize if he's a professional or not. And after that mistake, I never got advice from anyone in the gym, like any random guy in the gym or any YouTuber or anything. I purchased some courses, I researched about diet a lot, and I experimented so many things in my diet. And after struggling so many times, after failing a lot of times, I remember I tried over like 7 to 8 diets. I tried some low carbohydrate diet, some high carbohydrate diet, some complex carbs and everything, and some keto diet and everything. And I discovered that there are only some single ingredient food that you have to eat to gain some amount of muscles, and which has to be natural and which has to be high protein in it. And so many teenagers are lacking into it because they are addicted to eating processed food which has a lot of ingredient into it and there is no protein into it. So you don't have to fall into the trap of eating processed food while you're playing video games or anything like me. You just have to eat single ingredient foods which has a lot of high protein in it. And I say that all the time in my videos that you have to eat a lot of single ingredient food which has a lot of high protein in it. And when I discovered that, I felt very good and healthy and my skin got cleared because I was also drinking a plenty of water. So that's why my skin got clear and my organs are very healthy and everything, because I was not like eating like 100 ingredients foods or something. So my organs has to work a lot to kind of like digest that food. So that's why single ingredient foods is the best for human body. And what I mean by single ingredient food is which doesn't have any preservative into it, like meat or some chicken or some like red meat or some pork or beef or something, or some egg or some dairy products or like milk or like cottage cheese or some like Indian ghee, pure ghee or something, or some kind of like dairy milk fat or cheese or something which is made up of only single ingredient. I'm not talking about the Kellogg's Oats or something which has a like lot of ingredient to it. I'm talking about some single ingredient food, like not packaged food or something. I'm talking about natural single ingredient foods. And also when I adapted that diet, my sleep quality got better because like my body doesn't have to work too much to digest that food. So that's why also my mental health and my focus got clear and my productivity levels got higher, and I started becoming more focused and productive on my business and everything because I was not eating a lot of like processed food and everything. And the best benefit of being on single ingredient food diet is it becomes very easy to gain muscles and build an aesthetic body. And one of the benefit of being on single ingredient food diet is this will make you lose fat and gain muscles at the same time. And because you're reducing sugar and you're not eating processed food and sugary stuff and you're only eating high protein foods, it will make you build more muscles and not getting fat, so that you will look more aesthetic and leaner. And that's all. You don't have to add some fancy diets or fancy processed food or some packaged food. You just have to eat some few foods which are good for you and which has a lot of high protein into it. And it is scientifically proven that if you eat a lot of like red meat or like eggs or dairy products or something which has like high protein and high fats into it, it will become very easy to gain muscles for you. So as a teenager, the best thing that you can do for your diet is just add some single ingredient foods and don't rely on some packaged food and completely neglect them for at least a month or two, and you will see the difference a lot. If you need more help in improving your diet and your training programs to build an aesthetic body, just check out the first link in the description, which is the only product I sell. Goodbye.